Hi, Jim and Heather. It's Chelsea from Counseling Wise. Putting this short video together to go through a couple of the elements here in the marketing deck. Hopefully my voice will help clarify any text that I've written in here that seems a bit confusing. Now, I will warn you that what I'm about to go over is not going to be as comprehensive as what I've written in this report. So if you're watching this video and you have yet to read the report in full, I'd recommend you do that first, and hopefully this will supplement what you read. So I'm not going to make this too lengthy because given the analysis I've done for you and how it's a little bit different than most of our clients who come, who are local therapists, counselors, work with anxiety, depression, etc. I've included a lot more information, especially in the accompanying document to this deck, that really goes over some suggestions I have as a marketing expert, as well as I write here, somebody who isn't familiar with your business, with therapy, with modalities and those sorts of things, much like a person finding your site for the first time would be. So hopefully that insight enlightens you a little bit. Feel free to use my suggestions, not use my suggestions, but I do think that more beneficial than this video would be a phone call that we may have with any questions so we can really talk through anything. So feel free to let me know if you'd like that phone call after both going through the deck, going through that document, and watching this video. But as I mentioned before, I'll just touch on a couple things as we go through, mainly here in this deck. Now, I'm not going to go through much that I've written here in this document because, again, it is pretty comprehensive, and I would just be sort of repeating the same words I've used in the document without really speaking directly to you if you have questions about them. So, again, a call might be better there, but I will go through a few things. So scrolling through, that's just your form. Beginning with Google Analytics. You do not have this installed yet, but this is the free program through Google. It's really going to aggregate who's clicked on your site, where they came from, what pages did they click on, from what geographic location, what search terms, sometimes it tells you, were used to find you, what blog posts are most popular, what pages are performing well versus what pages do you have a lot of drop off, are people leaving your site, those sorts of things. So analytics, even if it was installed already, probably wouldn't have a lot of information given how new your site is and how unoptimized your site is. But this is something we'll want to do very, very soon into the working on your project so that we can really tackle some of these points over time as we see traffic change and more data aggregate. So now I'm going to touch a little bit on your social and directory analysis, beginning with social media, Facebook. You've got a great Facebook account. And as Heather, you and I have spoken about before, you have the unique opportunity of supplying really great photos through both Facebook and Instagram that most of my other therapy clients and other people who would be, let's say, competitors of yours, other sexual assault counselors, will not be able to provide the kind of visuals that you will. So using Instagram is great, and supplying photos on Facebook is great as well. So I mentioned a few things. What I like about your Facebook account is that obviously it's filled out and professional. You have quite a few followers already in the 300s. That can always be improved, but it's a great start. And you've included a lot of good information about a recent event that you had and photos from that event, which is, again, really great visuals. Seems that you've gotten good reception from that and people that responded to you on Facebook about those posts. Again, really great. Social media exists to be social. So talking to other people, leaving comments, commenting, and pushing people to your website. So I like the mission statement, the information you provided. It isn't comprehensive, it isn't a lot, but it shouldn't be, because the real point of that is to say who you are and then push people to your website, which is present. So well done there. A few suggestions at the end of that about content to be a little bit more, I guess, intentional about saying, to learn more information, click on my website, or contact me for more information using the form on my website. So really driving people in a very intentional way to your website. You need to add more content. Probably does not come as a surprise to you. The best way to do that is to include a blog on your website, which we talk about a little bit later. And then I have a way that I can automatically, when you post a blog on your site, it can format and automatically post on your Facebook page as a new message. And it will show you like maybe the first 2 sentences of the blog post, and then again, drive people to your website, which is going to be a big intent of those posts. but the more frequently and the more of a pattern you have with your posts, like every Wednesday on, at 10:30 in the morning, the more Facebook will read that pattern and be more likely to feature your posts in people's media feeds that they check every day. And then, like I said before, using social media as a social tool. So find other people that maybe don't do exactly what you do, but other nonprofit organizations, other counselors, other cycling groups, other businesses on Facebook. Befriend them, comment on their posts, build some sort of rapport so that hopefully their followers who are interested in what they do and thus may be interested in what you do will recognize you, see you, as long as you don't do it in a spammy way. Just really building that natural rapport will bring likes or followers to your site. And then Instagram. Same kind of suggestion as to follow people who have a lot of similar posts than you do, who do the same things. Follow them in hopes that, and comment on their post in hopes that people that follow them will see that you do something similar and be interested in you. And post more. I really like this sort of photo with text over it. If you have some sort of inspirational messages that you can brand, it doesn't have to be a quote from you. It could be just a quote, daily quote, a weekly quote, and then put Sacred Cycle on there. And then people love to repost those things and would be more willing to repost than they would photos of other people that they may not know. That can build awareness to your site. So same thing, other hopefully provide existing clients, definitely include, and then using the hashtagging, which I'm sure you're aware of. If you have a hashtag, the Sacred Cycle, hopefully other people who are involved in events that you can say, hey guys, use our hashtag, use Instagram, more photos will aggregate in that library. And you can also use hashtags that are existing, like hashtag cycling or healthy lifestyle or something like that that relates to what you do. Other people checking that out will hopefully see that. Now, directory listing, you don't have any directories like some of our other clients, Psychology Today, Good Therapy, and you likely won't because that isn't as applicable to you, but there are some other directories that could be, so I recommend looking into that. They do usually are paid directories, but are a good way to at least begin putting yourself out there on very credible sites. But then I also mentioned, and I mentioned it in my other report, that something that might be even more beneficial to you than paying for directories is doing some outreach. So once you start blogging, creating some specific blogs that you don't necessarily include on your site, but rather send out to other publications. So e-magazines, all about cycling. If you do the right outreach with them and send the right person, say, hey, this is the company that I do. This is an article I wrote. Is this something that you may be interested in putting on your site? As long as you backlink to me, that may be something that they are really interested in. Some of the things that you're doing in the cycling world or in the therapy world, counseling, or even Colorado Local Magazine or Western Colorado Magazine or something like that. There's online publications that may be interested and can drive their own viewers towards awareness of you. So then I go into the website a little bit, and a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about here, I'm mentioning, will be improved when you include the new content that's focus keyword centered. So you know that already. I do mention that several times. Again, you are aware the things you want it to be is a headline that grabs attention. You want it written to sell, specific and targeted, elicit emotion, and then have a call to action at the end. I also mentioned a lure or an opt-in that I talk about a little bit further in the report. That's a recommendation that we have that everybody include on their site, which entices people to download this report by including your email address here, and then you aggregate an email list, and then you have a newsletter that you can send to people. So the concept there being, if somebody comes to your site, likes what you do, but maybe isn't ready to make that step towards getting help, they can at least get some additional information, download this report. That could be, just a long form, 2-page, 10 ways to help overcome trauma or something like that. That would be enticing to them. And then hopefully in the future, if they are ready, they see those emails coming from you, you've built trust and credibility with them, and they'd be more willing to come back to you than go back on a search and find somebody else. So that's the concept there that I think would be very beneficial for you. And I do include more information about that in this larger document. But again, most of this stuff being some graphic changes, but also getting that content on the site. And then I did the SEO check on your homepage and a specialty page that I'll mention in a moment. And this is what your website looks like in a search engine. So when somebody clicks or types in either your name of your practice, the Sacred Cycle, or types in a keyword that you may begin ranking for, this is what they see: the title of your page and the description. Now, right now, you don't have any of this optimized. It just says a WordPress site instead of saying the Sacred Cycle and whatever your focus keyword is and your location information. So this is definitely something that we recommend, and we will, when changing around your site and adding pages, is optimize this so it is relative to your site, because nobody at the moment right now is going to click on your site because it doesn't describe what it is, whether it's ranking or not, and it likely won't ever rank unless this is customized. And then the analysis, some details there. So one of the things I mentioned from an aesthetics perspective is to make this banner image a bit smaller or more narrow, or rather, or shorter rather, so that you can actually see that there's content down here to read. Right now it just looks like a photo. You don't really see, I recommend cutting it like here maybe, so that you can begin to see some text from the other page. And it really will entice people to scroll down quicker. That's a common thing, and I recommend we do that for all of your pages, is just make that a little bit shorter. And then I also had a recommendation of, I like the donate information here and being present on the page, and not needing too much more information, given that you will have a full donate page that describes a little bit more. But maybe underneath the full content that I recommend, including some blog posts, since blogging is going to be big for your site in not only adding content to your site, and I speak about this a little bit further in the report, because each blog post is a new page, and each page makes your site larger, and the larger the site, the better your SEO is. It's kind of how that works. So blogging is important in that aspect, but it's also going to be really important for you in just defining your business and why it's helpful. So why is cycling good for healing of trauma? Why did you start doing this? What are some of the recent, I don't know, maybe not trends, but what are some popular topics around sexual assault counseling recently? Talking about really hot points that people are researching these days, or anything in politics or media that people might be, that might be talked about in the New York Times that you want to speak a little bit about, to debunk things, or talk a little bit more about them from a professional's perspective. That's really, the blogging is the place to do that, and will help drive viewers into really trusting you as a credible source and building awareness into your business. So I recommend including some recent blog post area here on the homepage, given that the homepage is and will always be the most popular page on your site. Good SEO on every other page will only bolster the homepage to be stronger. So that was a recommendation. A little bit about the donors section. And also optimizing your footer. So right now you have that, which is wonderful. Instagram is also great to have some of those images, which hopefully, without looking at the back of your site, but I do assume this will update as you include new photos. I don't think it's necessary to have the donate button here again if you have it here and here. But rather replace that with the name of your business, contact information, and location. Now I know you're looking to be international, or rather domestic, so location as far as Carbondale is less important, but the quicker we can optimize you for a specific location, the better your SEO will be in the long run. So I do recommend we write either Western Colorado, Glenwood Springs, Carbondale, or even a list of those areas. If it's included and written on your site, you're more likely to come up in search engines for local people searching for the keywords that you're optimizing for. So I do recommend we write some sort of location here at the bottom. And I also mentioned later, including a contact page that does have a map on it, a Google map. It could just be a generic Google map of Carbondale, and you could explain, hey, we work with people all across the country, but our headquarters are located here. Just that is great from a user's perspective, and then they understand what you're talking about. And from Google's perspective, they see the location, they see the map. and they rank you higher because of that. I mentioned free reports already, and then blog posts. So then I dug into at least one specialty page, or rather the only real specialty page you have here. Now, again, I know you're in the process of writing more pages around those keywords, so a lot of this will already be handled. But again, written to sell, headline grabs attention. People know as soon as they're on the page what service you're offering. So in the case of empowerment coaching, they know that's what you're going to talk about because the title is up there and it's relevant to what you're speaking of. And then a call to action. And then, of course, I looked again. This is what it looks like in a search engine, not optimized. We will optimize that. So a few other different things for this page specifically to include, in addition to the full 1,000-word content, embedding some small photos within that content. It not only helps from a visual perspective, because once you get that many words, after a while it looks a little boring on the page. It can be helpful to add photos. I can also optimize those photos for better SEO. So that those could be, you could go on a free photo website or a paid photo website and download those. Or given that you do have some wonderful photos yourself, we can include that on those pages instead. But I do recommend including at least one, if not two, in the body of that content. And also including a sidebar on that. So instead of just full content, you see a sidebar, and I include an example of a site that has a great one that will include your free report and the sign up. The idea being there, if you're on the empowerment page, your report is specific to something relating to empowerment. So somebody reading the empowerment page sees, oh, there's a free report I can also download for more information because I really liked what I just read. Same thing with testimonials. So adding some things from people who liked your practice before. I know that will take time to build, but and you can write anonymous and be discreet about who wrote it. But the idea there would be somebody who came in with empowerment issues and had a positive experience can write something, and you add that to your empowerment page. And then finally, your recent and relevant blog post relating to empowerment, you can include that on the sidebar as well. And that goes for every specialty page and is a recommendation of ours. I do recommend checking out that, the one on this page. It's pretty good. And then the blog, we've already talked about that. Blog. I know you've heard it probably a million times from people, but from a marketing perspective, it is essential for good SEO. So diving into a couple other things, Google Plus My Business Report Card. So you do not have a Google Plus page. Google Plus is this. So when you type in, for example, my client from Eden's Counseling Group, when you type that into a website browser, whether she's ranking number 1, so she's the first business you see, or she's not even on page 1. So maybe there's a bunch of other businesses across, whatever, that are called Eden's Counseling or something related. You will see this on the sidebar, and it does draw the eye and draws people to her information and her website that she can click and access. So this is usually something that I highly, highly recommend for my local clients. So people who are in, say, Denver, have a business in Denver, they definitely want to include this because it helps with local ranking more than almost anything else. Now, again, for you, local ranking is not as important, but it's still very beneficial to have something like this, and it's free and easy to set up. So I recommend that. Ranking. So I did run a bunch of the keywords that I sent to you through a tool to see if you are ranking for those terms already, which is not surprising that you are not, because of course they're not integrated into your site yet. But I ran them through to check both desktop and mobile, as both of those are important. And I ran it through just generally Glenwood Springs, which again is local and it's not as important. But hopefully now that these are in my tool, when we start implementing these things on your site, this tool will continually every day track to see if there's any improvements. So over time, we should see numbers and a grid start to build to show the progress of your ranking for those terms. And these are the terms here. Mobile intuitiveness. So basically, does your site work on mobile? And that is a yes, which is very, very important. So well done there. And then a couple other SEO factors. Do you have enough pages on your site? Nope. At the moment, you only have 19, and some of those are demo pages we want to get rid of. Blogging is the best way to get to the 100 plus pages, which is what a good site usually has. So that will solve itself once we begin blogging. Business address we've already talked about, and Google Map we've already talked about adding those. So now I'm going to dig into very briefly, a few back-end SEO things, which mostly isn't relevant to you given that your site is new. So the front-end user experience, keyword research, implementation, that is much more important in this phase. Later down the line, when all of that is set, if there are still issues, if you're still not ranking for certain things, that's when we would look at some of these back-end and really put measures in place to hopefully benefit that. So detrimental backlink check. So you don't have any backlinks on your site at all, which isn't surprising given how new your site is. Backlinks referring to other websites that refer to your site. But as I mentioned before, this could be something very beneficial from not only driving people to your site, and it's a great SEO factor, but also building awareness by reaching out to other magazines and trying to, tell them about your business and nonprofits, other nonprofit sites or something like that, and just really building awareness. Duplicate content, that would be, are you copying other people's websites or other people copying you, or do you have a ton of pages on your site that have the exact same content as other pages? No, you're fine there. And then your URL is functioning properly, which is good. Site speed, so you're not doing well with site speed. We can definitely improve this with some plugin measures, and most of what I'm seeing here is pretty common with all WordPress sites. So we need to optimize some of your images. They're taking up too much space on your site. And then implement some other things like eliminate render blocking JavaScript. That comes with WordPress every time, but there are plugins and things that we can implement to improve this. So that's something we'll definitely want to do. So I mentioned that. And then malware, you don't have any, spam on your site right now. You can ignore this. That's just the tool trying to sell you something. But you're all good there. Nothing to worry about. And then usually at this point in my marketing analysis, I include a couple slides that say, here are some things aggregated together, steps to take moving forward to improve your site. But instead of that, I went into a much more comprehensive report here. So I include some suggestions of how I would, different pages I would include on your site and the format of your navigation bar. I include why I think those pages should be there and what should be included in each one of those. So you can go through that. The tech work, I really just kind of compiled all of the things I said in the deck together in one piece, and then included some different marketing notes. So a couple things about, for example, Sacred Cycle. That is mysacredcycle.com is a business already based out of Hawaii. So my recommendation is to try to differentiate yourself from them, is to always refer to yourself as the Sacred Cycle, and using that throughout your site, throughout your Facebook profiles, just so that people really associate you with the Sacred Cycle instead of confusing you, because it will take some time for you to rank higher than the existing site that already has a wonderful online presence. That comes up first when you type in Sacred Cycle into a web browser, especially in an overall. So you may be more popular here in Colorado, but that person has an older site, a well-optimized site. It's going to take some time for you to come up first. So you have a better ability to do so with the Sacred Cycle, since that is your domain name. Creating Google Business, free report we talked about, backlinking. What's something that I think would be really great is for you to look into is Google Apps actually supplies nonprofits with free advertising opportunities. So if you check out this website here, you should be applicable to get some free ads on Google, which is, Google ads are something that some people sometimes pay thousands and thousands of dollars a month in effort for them to come up in the ads section on Google, which comes up before you even see any other ranking. So the fact that you can and may be able to get that for free, given you're a nonprofit, is something definitely worth looking into. That's going to build awareness very quickly. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should touch on quickly. So I did include a lot about a page that I think you should write right here, which really describes, because this is something that I found was lacking on your site, is a full and very comprehensive, maybe bullet pointed, or first thing, second, something very clear that describes, if I was to apply to be a part of this as a survivor, whether I came in from your homepage, I came in through PTS treatment or childhood sexual abuse therapy, these pages will really describe to me, relate to me and tell me, how a little bit about your business. But this page should really tell you as a member, or whatever that terminology may be, member client. I'm not sure what that is for you, but as somebody who's applied and signed up, what do I actually get? So first, you supply me with biking tools. How do I get that? Where do you ship me things? Do I buy my own bike and get reimbursed? With the therapist, how do I get a therapist in my local area? You say you supply this, but I don't know how that works. And these events, how frequently do they occur? I hear they're in Carbondale. How many people go to these events? What do they look like? So really informing people as to what your business model really is and what they get with membership with you is essential to understanding and getting people to actually build an understanding and an interest in your program. And then I include a bunch of other suggestions or insights that I have. So again, without going into too much detail and all of that, since I've supplied so much already, I'll leave you there, let you go through all of that, and then build any questions and either email me those questions or let me know if you'd like to jump on a phone call to discuss some of these things together. I hope this was informative and helpful, and I look forward to hearing back from you. Thank you. Bye-bye.